how ancestral entities show up as personality disorders, psychic attacks, ongoing or consistent trauma. For those of you who are new to my channel, welcome, welcome. My name is Satara Faye. I am a practicing professional psychic medium and have been since 2012. What this means is that I have been traversing the interdimensional world for quite a long time. I've been a psychic development teacher since 2016 and I've led hundreds, if not thousands of people into a deeper connection with their own soul's awareness. So what I want to talk with you today is pretty specific. This is the second video in a series on entities and parasitic attachments. So ancestral entities. These ones are a real bitch. Not going to sugarcoat it. They come through our family line by being raised by one or more primary caregivers that unfortunately had to live with a psychological or personality disorder. I have a degree in psychology, and part of that was because I had to understand why things in my upbringing were the way that they were. I needed to understand certain dynamics, and I needed to ultimately have a lot of questions answered, which is probably why you're here watching this video. So when I was getting my degree in psychology, I noticed that when it came to, and I'm just going to use schizophrenia as an example because it is the most obvious one, that schizophrenia to me clearly was a spiritual ailment. It was not something that was just going on in the mind, that it was actually something that was going on in a fissure in the person's auric field that allowed an external entity to come in. Now, the mainstream psychological, or let's say the American Psychological Association, doesn't identify these types of things. But if you talk to mystics or psychics or mediums or anyone that is in my field of healing, we all know and we all get it because we have been facing what it means to clear these attachments from people literally for thousands of years. A lot of people think that possession is very dramatic. They think 1980s horror movies, The Exorcist, and all types of things. And I can tell you that in a lot of ways, it is actually quite more subtle and unfortunately way more common in this world than we think. So I'm hosting a 3-day Entity Clearing Masterclass. This is the second one I've done. The first one was last year, and we had absolutely incredible results, testimonials. It was really a very powerful experience. So I decided to do it again this year before Halloween. I want to prepare everyone with protection, awareness of what goes on in this world when the veils are thin. So if that sounds interesting to you, you can go ahead and check out the link in the description. You can follow me over on Instagram at satara.speaks as well. And you'll see all sorts of new information coming out this month, specifically on entities. Now, the ancestral entity thing, it's that it is an encoding that is passed down through the genes. So Bruce Lipton, who's like the grandfather of epigenetics, will teach that we have a blueprint. There's a genetic blueprint, which basically means we get a certain set of genetics from mom and dad. I would very kindly and respectfully argue that we actually have genetics from mom and from dad and from our own individual soul. That our soul comes through at the moment of conception when there's a spark of light, when sperm meets egg, that ultimately brings in the immortal soul encoding of your entire lineage. So let's say that that sets the foundation. Well, what we know with epigenetics is that it is very possible for full blood siblings to have gotten the same set of DNA theologically, and for, let's say, one to carry on the heart or kidney disease that the family line has and the other one to not. And so part of this is by set and setting, by the environment, by the upbringing. And so a lot of times, as we know, physical disease is actually dis-ease from emotions that have gotten caught. Well, when we talk about mental disorders or personality disorders, it gets to be a little bit more complex, right? Because it's quite more overt. And it can be just as much, if not more, debilitating to a person's life and how they're able to function and create a very, beautiful life that a lot of us desire to live in peace and ease and stability. So, how we get into it. This is very challenging. I have had to address this within my own family lineage, within my own internal ecosystem, within my own mind. In some cases, when I have had to address this with people that I care very much about, and I'm being a little bit vague simply because that's what feels the safest for me to do, especially since these are public videos. But in some cases, when I have tried to clear these, I have experienced what felt like the worst case of psychosis, except I was fully conscious to what was going on. I knew that there was an entity that had gotten into my field, and I knew it because I was attempting to help somebody that I care very much about try to clear it from their own field. I had a moment, because I was experienced in it, I had a moment of like, pick on someone your own size, get out of here type of thing. And I didn't fully clear it. I didn't fully connect it to the light, and I didn't fully make a full transition. So what ended up happening was this thing came home with me and ended up getting into my fields when I went out drinking for a night. It was the last time I drank. I was like, I don't need any more of this. This is too much. And it's too dangerous. And it's too dangerous for me to lead in the way that I want to lead and to be in full integrity with my work. And so one of the very interesting things that happened over the next few days was that because I let this thing into my field, right? Alcohol basically gave it the key. I was like, here's the key. Just come right on in. And so since I gave it the key and since I allowed it to come into my ecosystem, I couldn't get it out once it had come in. It was bullying me. It was verbally aggressive. It was horribly abusive. I was aware of it in my conscious mind. And like I said, I was aware that it was an external entity because I knew exactly where it came from and I knew exactly how it came in. So I was very conscious of this situation. I had to call some of my very first mentors to help me clear it. And I had what was probably one of the most dramatic exorcism type experiences of all of the years that I have been doing this work. And the unfortunate side was that I had to go through it. And the silver lining, the beautiful thing, is that I can share what that experience was like for me to help prevent those experiences from happening, hopefully, in your world. And if it's already happening, I can also show you how to unlock the system to be able to set yourself free. The world of psychology will have you thinking that if you have a behavioral or mental disorder, that you are pretty much stuck with it for the rest of your life. And I'm here to tell you that that is not the case. What it takes is a willingness to be rigorously honest with yourself about your patterns, your shadow, your darkness, your malintent, your manipulative tendencies, where those things are coming from within yourself that are basically exacerbating the system, especially if you are a person that is hosting an entity. One, I want to commend you for being here and watching this video. That means that your sovereignty and your consciousness is stronger than the will of that entity, because oftentimes people that are a bit more compromised, they can't even hear this conversation. And it's very unfortunate because oftentimes people that I talk to know somebody that's dealing with this type of thing, but that somebody isn't even willing to listen to this information to think with maybe a what if. Even if we just approach it with what if what I'm saying is true, which I know that it is. I wouldn't be having this conversation and put it on a public forum if I felt that there was any shadow of a doubt or any type of gap in what I'm sharing with you. In the last Entity Clearing Masterclass, we had over 250 people show up. Over 100 people were live, which meant that I was leading a container with the intention to hold the space and hold the frequency for about 100 people to experience possession-like extractions or entity extractions all at one time. It has taken me a lot in my work to get to the space where I was actually capable of holding a container like that. And so I want you to know that I'm coming from a place of depth in experience internally and personally. And the reason that I believe that these things happen in my world or my life was so that I could really actually get to a point or get to a place of being able to share how we get out of it. It's not easy, but neither is dealing with these types of ancestral patterns. So if there are patterns in your family line, maybe you're the black sheep, maybe you're the rainbow sheep, maybe you're the one that's like, hey, this is dysfunctional AF and we need to change something here. That may be you, and you may be feeling it, and it may be in your genetics, and you may be aware of it, and you may also know that it's time to change things. So what I do want to let you know is that when we internally start clearing ourselves from that, there is a ripple effect in the ecosystem in which these things thrive. And oftentimes there's a web. It's not just one clear done. Unfortunately, these things are highly complex, highly intelligent, and I'm specifically talking about the generational ones. There is a sliding scale of entity possession, of entity attachment. And well, I'm going to go into all of this in the masterclass, but I'm in much more detail. And also we're going to be doing the actual transmissions that help to clear these things. But ultimately, I am so passionate about getting this information out there to so many people because I really do believe that mental health, the mental health industry is completely missing the mark, whether or not that's intentional. I think that's for each of us individually to decide. And what I also am aware of is that there are a lot of starseed children that are getting scooped into this arena of mental health disorders or being diagnosed with ADD or ADHD very young and put on very intense medications in which their sovereignty is completely compromised. And so I have a deep and sincere passion of doing what I can to bring this information, and not just the information, but the solution, to make it as accessible as possible so that we can collectively start claiming back our sovereignty. What I'm speaking to is ancestral entities and on an individual level, and I'm not going to get into it right now in this video, but there are a lot of bigger forms of this consciousness that are manipulating the field and manipulating the collective unconsciousness in a very powerful way. And again, the solution is your sovereignty. The solution is your consciousness. The solution is your consent. These things cannot get in your field if you do not allow it. So in some way, shape, or form, these things have to have your permission. Now, when it comes to the ancestral entities, I do genuinely believe that we choose our parents. We choose the DNA. We choose the set of cards that we are going to be dealt in our life in order for us to ascend, in order for us to master our way out of it, in order for us to be able to get to the other side and see things through a lens of heightened possibility and expansion. And that can take place in a really, really powerful and a very, very beautiful way, and in a way that brings so much lightness, so much longevity, and allows us room for greater connection. Because there's so many of us that don't trust people around us because of the cracks and the fractured nature of our dysfunctional family. And so with that, from my heart to yours, I want you to know that healing is possible, reconciliation is possible, sovereignty is the anecdote, and the way that we get there is by being rigorously honest with ourselves, with our shadows, and facing our deepest fears and the parts of ourselves that we don't really want to face, the criticism or reflections that we don't really want to hear. The medicine is actually in those pockets. And so If any of this sounds interesting to you, please do check out the link in the description below. And I want to formally and cordially invite you to join us live for the Entity Clearing Masterclass. It starts October 20th. And if you are watching this video after then, please know that everything is recorded. The link is going to stay the same. And so you are absolutely more than welcome to join us after the recordings go live and after we have our classes. So with that, I just want to say thank you for spending your time here with me today. And remember, this video is part 2 of a series that I am doing on this information. So again, if this feels interesting to you, please do enjoy watching the next video on the series. And as we go forth, we integrate the healing and the lessons received with courage, self-love, and compassion. Our session here today is very much in love and very much complete.